Hello, people. Okay, so as you can probably imagine, I woke up on the wrong side of the bed this afternoon. Yeah. So I was wondering, how am I going to deal with this shit, right? I know, I'll make a video. But that's not the first thing that happened. It took a little while to get out of a bad mood. I had to drink even more wine. And some beers as well, and to get to the point where I'm ready to sort of deal with this fucking shit. So here I am. So, oh yeah, by the way, boom. Okay, thumb up my video, subscribe to my channel, make yourself puke up or something, and press the notification button so that you can always be informed when I'm going to make a video, so that I can irritate you some more, because that's all I seem to probably do, is mostly is irritate people. I'm an irritant. Ah dear. So anyway, Frankenstianity. I thought I'd get to the heart of the problem, get put the stake in the heart of the vampire, so to speak, So what is Christianity? It's a Frankenstein monster. It's got all these different bits of like other religions, like dead religions, and it's like put them all together in the shape of a man, so to speak, and stitched them all together and put some like electricity into it. It's what the Frankenstein paradigm is really about. It's like it's Christianity. That's what it is. It just occurred to me just a few minutes ago. I thought I'd better make a video about this while it's fresh in my mind. Strike while the bird is in the bushes or something. Oh dear. So yeah, that's it really. I just had a revelation. I just thought, right, I'll make a video. I suppose I better keep it going for a bit. Okay, so why is it a Frankenstein monster? It's been made up of like things like Mithraism. Mithras was this sun god, and there was a few other sun god things, that got put in there. The Egyptian religion, the cult of Isis, that got shoved in there. What else? Isis. There was this god called Isis, a North European god, probably from somewhere like northern France or somewhere, or Holland, where they used to like nail people to trees, like a scapegoat kind of religion. Any sort of criminals or something, they would like nail them to a tree, and that was like let them just die slowly. So I think that's where the word Jesus come from. It's like a corruption of Isis. They stuck that in there as well. They just put all these different religions together, bits of them, just like a Frankenstein monster. That's what Christianity is. It's a Frankenstein monster. What does Jesus say? What does Christ say? He says, I am the truth, I am the way. None shall get through to the Father except through me. Now, when I say the Father, we're talking about, imagine God, right? Now, there's another thing, I wanted to talk about. I've got a load of stuff to get off my chest, right? Was God naive when he created the universe? What I think's probably happened is that he's like, he was naive. I mean, I've got these memories like that don't correlate to my actual lifetime. They're partly like visions that I've had. And when I say visions, I mean when I've been like just normally just twiddling my thumbs, waiting for something in life to happen, and like it's like I've been watching a movie projected onto the wall, and I've seen like a vision. I've seen visions. I'm a visionary. I've seen visions, and one of those visions was God creating the universe. And what happened was that he looked at all the possibilities, and this takes a little bit of time to explain, right? So just bear with me. He looked at all the possibilities, saw that it was pointless, completely pointless making a universe, so he decided not to bother, right? And then you're thinking, right, well, how come we've got a universe then? Where do all these people come from? Yeah, okay, that's a good point. What happened was when he decided that it's not worth creating a universe, there was kind of like an echo, or how do you put it? It's like, I don't know. It's like there was like an echo when he closed the door on the possibility of creating a universe. He sort of slammed the door shut, and that door shutting made a noise, and that noise created an echo, and the echo came back in the shape of a woman. It's always got to be a woman there, hasn't there? I mean, how else are you going to create a universe if you haven't got a woman? So anyway, this woman is sort of like pleaded, who was just basically a ghost, a ghost of an echo, pleaded with God, said, "Look, let me, create the universe. If you don't want to do it, just give me a little bit of your energy and let me create it." So God, all the energy he'd put into the looking at all the possibilities of how to create a universe, and realizing that it was pointless, he just closed all that energy up and gave it to this kind of woman, right? So that she could use that energy to create a universe out of. There's a parallel in Norse mythology where God, the original God, created the universe out of the dirt from under his fingernails. So he didn't lose anything. All it was just dirt from under his fingernails. That's what the universe is created of. That's according to Norse mythology. North European ancient history. Okay, so where are we going with this then? So hence Christianity. We arrive at Christianity. They put all these different bits of religions together and made a new religion out of it, and then forced it onto people. Used a lightning strike to put energy into it. Give it energy, bring it to life. And now we've got this monster. Christianity has gone over to the other side of the world. Places like America, and basically destroyed the vast majority of Native American people, who were generally very honorable people and good, decent people, but they were kind of like a bit simplistic. But they were they're much more nicer. As far as I can tell, they're much nicer people to the planet and to nature than Christians. Christians are like monsters in comparison. No wonder we don't like talking about this stuff. It's like, because it just makes us look bad. And it's no wonder people don't like to analyze Christianity, because it's like doing an autopsy on a living monster. A fucking, like a Frankenstein monster, that it won't die. And it's a fucking monster. It won't die. You can't seem to kill it. Even though it's a terrible thing, it does all these terrible things, and we just turn a blind eye and pretend like it doesn't exist. We're like, and part of the religion, the other thing about the Christianity is partly a scapegoat religion. It looks for scapegoats. It can't help itself. Watch the Frankenstein movie, the more recent one, the one that's made in this century. There's one you can get on YouTube, and he's looking for scapegoats. He tries to punish people that weren't anything to do with his creation at all. I have an interest in scapegoats, because I feel like I've been made into a scapegoat. I'm the family scapegoat in my family, and it's a really horrible thing. I've had so much. I've had to deal with so much fucking shit in my life. I mean, I'm not saying you haven't. You know, you probably had to deal with a fair amount of shit as well. Okay, I'm not saying that you should feel sorry for me. I'm just, you know, getting stuff off my chest, and hopefully you can use this to you can relate to it, and you can see that you're not the only one. You're not alone. You know, other people like me and stuff, and other people that watch my channel, we can relate to all this fucking shit. You know, it's happened to us as well. Okay, so the whole thing about scapegoating is that people they don't want to deal with their own shit, so they they don't want to blame the right people, the people that are really responsible, i.e. God, the government, the church, the medical establishment, the banks, their family. So they find a scapegoat, you know. On the other hand, I did make a video. What was the last video I made was about the Satan what was it? Not paradigm, hypothesis, hypotheosis. It's funny. Maybe one of the reasons I've been in a bad mood is because I just read this book, right? The City of Mirrors, and it's by this guy. I don't like the look of him, really. Look at this guy. Look. What an arsehole. He looks like a right arsehole, doesn't he? He's he's a professor, an English professor at Rice University. One of the things about the book is it makes it's one of the main characters. This guy, what's his name? And there might be some spoilers in here, but I don't care. What's the guy's called? Oh fucking hell! I'll just look him up. Timothy Fanning. He's the first guy on the list of dramatis personae. Timothy Fanning, a student. He's the guy that caused all the problems, and he basically contracted a virus that made him turn into some sort of vampire thing, and so he's the equivalent of Count Dracula, really. But they try to you try to see it from his point of view. Part of the book's about seeing it from his point of view. So you try to sort of relate to him, but what happens is he's the bad guy, right? So he decides that everyone needs to suffer like he's suffered, and I can kind of relate to that. And I've made other videos about this, how I can relate to people that go and shoot loads of people. Like these, every now and again you get someone who goes into an American school and shoots loads of the kids. Whether they're usually pupils, and they go to their school, they've got their dad's gun or something, and they just shoot loads of kids. It's happened quite a few times. There was a guy, I think somewhere like Norway, some guy got a rifle and he went on an island and shot loads of kids and people and stuff. I kind of can relate to these people because things like the Christianity thing, the Frankenstianity, this monster that's been created, it turns people into monsters. It's like a vampire. It turns people into fucking monsters. But would they have been any different without it? It seems maybe not. It's difficult to tell. It's like once you've got people that become warlike, everyone else has to join in. If people are going to fight you, you've got to fight them back just to protect yourself. So as soon as one group of people, one tribe becomes warlike, everyone else has to become warlike in order to survive. That's how we all become like orcs, how we all become like Agent Smith. How the Matrix gets created. As soon as you've got one group of people making war on another group, the whole world has got no choice but to become warlike. So it may be Christianity is sort of like a Frankenstein monster that was like a sort of the only option, that somebody felt they had no other option than to create Christianity, because we'd already gone to war. And once that had started, everybody was going to war, and everybody's trying to manufacture the best of weapons and war strategies, And so there's no ends to the wars, You've got Islam, where in Islam that they have an idea that the world began with war and it will end with war. So basically, there's going to be no ends to war. I mean, they call themselves a religion of peace, but their philosophy is that there will never be any end to war. So it's kind of like there's a small group of like stories that I think are interesting. The vampire, the Dracula stories, the Frankenstein story, and the Jekyll and Hyde story. There's some other ones as well, some classics, Captain Nemo, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. I think that's another interesting sort of story that's been passed down. I mean, Nemo, interestingly, Captain Nemo, the word Nemo means no man. And Neo, it's got three of the letters of Nemo in it, Nemo, just it's lacking the M. M for mother. Then you've got Trinity, Okay. Yeah, see, I'm a right brain thinker, so there's no like reductionist like line that I'm taking with this video. It's like I'm right brained. It's expansive, I'm looking at expanding my ideas. In some ways, I'm quite glad. I mean, in some ways, I'm disappointed that I haven't got any viewers yet. But in other ways, I'm quite glad I can make videos without any interruptions, so I can just get on with things. You have to take the rough with the smooth. Is your glass half full or half empty? Well, it's a conundrum, isn't it? I can tell you one thing, as soon it's going to be empty. But on the positive side, I've got a few more bottles of wine out in the kitchen. This one's still got some in it, So even if it becomes empty, I can fill it up again. Yeah, dear. So you've probably watched like some of my videos, subscribers, you've seen my videos, I basically talk about the same stuff. I do bang on about Christianity and the fact that it's sort of like, I find it quite disappointing. On the other hand, it's like a trick. This Frankenstein monster, one of the reasons it's a monster is because it's all based in the written word. And the written word to me seems like a terrible, terrible thing. It's a nightmare, and it creates a nightmare. Anyway, I'm also stuck in a nightmare. I feel. What do you do when you're stuck in a nightmare? It's like you can't escape. The only obvious way to escape from this nightmare that I find myself in, which generally we call life, would be suicide. there's another aspect to this book, you know, where he in there's someone who commits suicide near the end of the book. This is the third part of a trilogy, right? And he basically makes it sound like a good thing, you know. Contrary to sort of like tradition, you know, or apart from maybe Japanese, like, is it harikari? I forgot what the word is, you know, the term. In traditional Chinese, Japanese culture, they've got like this thing of like where you commit suicide by basically disemboweling yourself with a short like knife. And it's supposed to be the only on when you've made a really terrible mistake and it costs other people's lives and stuff, you know, and there's just no way of getting any sort of honor back. The only honorable thing to do is to commit harikari, where you basically kill yourself by cutting deep into your guts with a knife and twisting it round and lifting it up. So you're basically disemboweling yourself, you know. Oh dear. The Japanese are funny people, aren't they? I kind of like the Japanese. I like the fact that they bow. I don't like shaking people's hands. I've had too many dodgy handshakes, you know. I don't understand what it's about. I understand on the surface what it's about, but I don't like it. I don't like the idea of shaking hands. It's distasteful, you know. It makes me feel uncomfortable. Just the whole idea of it. You know, you get a great, because people can lie through a handshake. It's not someone's got a firm handshake. It doesn't mean anything. What about left-handed people? You know, what about fucking left-handed people? They can't give you a proper handshake, and so you're going to get, if you don't know that someone's left-handed and you shake them with your right hand, you don't know that their weak handshake is because they're left-handed. They're being discriminated against. How many people do you see shake someone's hand with their left hand? You never see it, do you? It's always so right-handed people. It's like it's a way of right-handed people dominating and lording it over left-handed people, and there's no good reason for that. So I don't shake hands, even though I'm right-handed mostly. You know, I don't see any good reason to shake hands. It's like it's inherently wrong, as far as I'm concerned. Shaking hands is it's a stupid idea. It's an animal thing. You know, it's people who are like basically locked into their animal state, and that's why I don't do it, and I don't recommend it. I don't like the idea of it. Where else am I going with this? Hello, viewer. Okay, Frankenstein, the Frankenstianity. We're destroying the world. You know, I bang on about this again, you know, all the time. We're destroying the world in the sense of creating a man-made mass extinction event, right? This is how Christianity is basically the beating heart of this system. You know, all the technology coming from the West and Europe. You know, we've been bogged down in Christianity for all this time. You know, it's all this centralized power, bringing all the power together in a centralized way. That's exactly what the devil wants. That's what the devil wants, you know, centralized power structures controlled by humans that he can then take over. And so he only has to control basically a very small amount of humans so that he can control the world and destroy it. That's what he wants to do, according to the Bible. And one of the things that the devil does, because he works for God, he's God's guard dog, he has to tell you what he's doing. And that's what he does in the Bible. Look, I'm going to destroy the world. I'm the Prince of Darkness. I like centralized power structures. You have to fight against principalities, and I'm the Prince of Darkness, and I'm going to control all the centralized power structures on this planet until you get rid of me. That's what the Bible is telling you. And so what do? We support all these like centralized power structures and give all our power to the devil. And that's what Christianity's done. That's what Christianity's done. That's how it works. That's what Christians do. They just are like sheep, and they sacrifice themselves to make the devil in stronger and stronger and stronger and more powerful. It's a fucking monster, you know, and we've created it. We've allowed it. We right under our noses. We've watched it be created. We've allowed it to be created. And if someone like me comes along and tries to tell people, look, you know, basically I'm a messenger from the God, or that I'm speaking the truth, you know, this is what you need to do. You need to disable all these power structures because they're a nightmare and they're destroying the planet. They're going to create a nightmare for us all. I mean, I'm already in a nightmare. I'm already stuck in a nightmare. What am I supposed to do about it? You know, I see all these women, right? I've got this urge to have like sexy time with beautiful women, right? There's loads of beautiful women out there, and yet it seems like they're not available to me, you know. They should be. I'm not that bad looking, am I? I don't smell too bad. They should be available, but I just don't know how to talk to them. I've got some sort of psychological block that stops me like having relationships, you know. I'm too angry most of the time, you know. There would be no point. It's too dangerous for me to have relationships. And even then, if you start getting to talk to these women, they're vacant, you know. They're pretty vacant, you know. They're pretty, but they're vacant. They've got no soul. They're soulless. What can I do about it? You know, what can you do about it? It's like, yeah. So it's just pointless, you know. You can't get anywhere. I mean, it should be that we could just have like sex every day, once or twice a day, maybe 3 times a day, and that should be in my imagination, in my hopes, you know. It's like that should work, you know. It should be like a sort of foundation for a relationship, you know. You come together, you mix your energies, you know, you sort of make each other happy, you know, in a sort of physical way. But in reality, it's a fucking nightmare. You can't find anyone to have sex with. It's ridiculous. And I know why this is. We've got a dumbed down school system that makes people into monsters. We've got a fucking dumbed down, evil, monstrous religion that's been forced on us that also turns people into monsters. You know, we've got a fucked up medical establishment. So if anyone gets ill, the doctors most of the time just make things worse. You know, so that it turns life into a nightmare for everyone. You're all in a fucking nightmare. And the terrible thing is, most people act like everything's okay. It's like the only way to survive is to pretend like everything's fine and you're just happy and put on a false smile, you know, and pretend everything's okay. So denial, it's a culture of denial, and denial is extremely fucked up, because if somebody threatens your state of denial, you tend to react in a very negative way, you know. So it's like we've got this system that's set up that encourages people to do the exact opposite of what the real spiritual message of Christianity is trying to tell you, like, to live in the truth, you know. Everyone's walking around lying through their fucking teeth, you know. So that's why I talk the truth, and And I like to keep my what do you call it? Official identity a bit closed. You know, I don't use my real name on it because I know I'm going to speak the truth. You know, and people will probably try to kill me. That's what people do. That's what Christians do. They kill people that speak the truth, even though they're supposedly their savior is Christ. But how do they worship him? By worshiping a man crucified on a fucking cross who's suffering terribly. That's their idea of worship. And how do they celebrate him? They drink a bit of wine and bread, which they say is the flesh and blood of Christ. So they're like cannibals. They model themselves on cannibals. They're playing at being cannibals, and not just any cannibals. Cannibals who are eating their savior. You know, it's so bizarre. You can't even make it up. And we tell this to our children. If it was up to me, right, you wouldn't even be able to learn about Christianity until you're like well into your 50s. Once you sort of reach about 56, 57, if you seem psychologically stable, right, and, you know, then maybe you should be allowed to have a quick look at the Bible to see how fucked up it is, you know. But not for everyone. Most people they probably couldn't handle it. But what do? We shove it we ram it down our fucking children's neck like it was like we're trying to unblock a toilet, you know. And then we wonder why the world has gone to shit and we're destroying the planet. It's like, for fuck's sake, it's because we've got a Frankenstein monster on our hands, you know, and it's called Christianity. That's why. But what can you do? It's like, you know, people have grown up with this. They don't know any different. To them, it's their daddy, you know. Oh, daddy, can I hold your hand? You know, it's like... Okay. I mean, you've really got to be blind to not see this, you know. And actually, most people, obviously, it seems, are blind because, you know, if people could see this and see it for what it is, we would get rid of it. You know, it would just like we'd think, oh well, let's confine this to history. Let's cut its head off. That's how you kill things like Frankenstein monsters. You've got to cut their head off, right? So how do you do that? Let's be practical. Let's look at some practical advice about how to deal with Christianity, shall we? The people need to start communicating amongst themselves and disregard the people at the top, the centralized power structure. They've got to cut the head off. You know, realize that the people at the top are all being targeted by evil spirits and the devil to control them. So it's okay to take on a lot of the teachings of Christianity and Christ and stuff. A lot of it seems to make sense. But when you've got people at the top controlling you and they are totally corrupt and evil, it obviously is not going to work. I mean, I just feel like there's no point me saying this. No, you people are so like conditioned to be sheep-like. I mean, people generally are conditioned to be sheep-like that. No amount of telling people this, or no, it doesn't matter how clearly you explain it. It doesn't make any fucking difference at all. If anything, the only thing you're going to accomplish is that they'll probably crucify you. You know. I'm so glad that I don't get many watchers. You know. I just couldn't relax if I had loads of watchers and I was saying this. I'd be thinking, I hope nobody crucifies me for speaking the truth. You know, like they did with Christ. But when I've only got like one or two watchers, it's like, man, it doesn't seem to matter, you know. This is one of those things. It's how the devil works. If you're not attracting any real attention, you just basically get ignored. It's not only normal people that ignore me, but the devil is also going to ignore me. Agent Smith will ignore me too. So I can basically say what I like. I say a little competition, for my regular viewers. You see what I'm doing here with this growing the beard? See if you can guess how this is going to go. In 2 weeks' time, how am I going to look? What sort of facial hair am I going to have? What is going to be the structure of my facial hair in 2 weeks' time? And you get 2 points this time for getting a correct answer. So leave your comments in the comments section. Tell me what's going to happen in 2 weeks' time with my facial hair. And if you win, a special prize will be going on to you through the astral plane. You'll get a little tiny blessing that will make your life absolutely, totally wonderful for a whole week. Maybe even more. Okay. So I'm just going to see if I've got enough tobacco to make a cigarette. Feel free to ask me to sort of make add to the discussion. Apparently I've got 1 viewer, but that could be 2. I don't know. It's difficult to tell with this YouTube, the way YouTube is. You'd think they would have got it sorted out now, but no, it's all designed to be like backward and dumbed down and to not work properly. It's another thing, it's like they have to try and make everything into Frankenstein monsters. Once you've got a system that is basically a monster, it has to make everything like itself, like a vampire. It has to turn everything else into vampires. It can't help it. It's got no free will. This is the other thing that's interesting about doing the work, right? And it's hard. I'm not saying it's easy to understand or to live with even, but it does seem as though it's true. And that is that God is a vampire. The devil and the God are both vampires. And they've created a fucking nightmare. I mean, this is the thing. Did God make this world like this by accident? Does he allow people like me to have such shitty lives that we end up like hating everyone? Because sometimes I feel like I fucking hate everyone. I hate this world. Why was it created? Why did God create this world so that I could be born and suffer terribly for fucking years and years on end? But no matter how hard I try, it seems like I'm still suffering terribly. There's no way out of it. I'm stuck in a fucking nightmare. There's no escape. It's religion, although it sounds good, it sounds okay on the surface, it actually just seems to cause endless fucking problems. It's a fucking nightmare. And so, is God naive? Was God naive? Is he stupid? I'm starting to think that God has actually been, God come along. This is my new theory right at the moment. I'm thinking about God come along, created the universe, and then he thought to himself, "Oh, I'm going to create a devil." Right? He created the devil, and the devil was too powerful, and so he got God in handcuffs. He tied him up and chucked him in the basement and locked the door. And now the devil's taken over the universe, and God's tied up and gagged and locked in the basement, or maybe he's dead, So the question then is like, should we try and rescue God? Should we try to bring God back to life? Well, what's the point? He fucked up right at the beginning, so why would he make a better job of it now? So we've got the devil running the show, right? The devil is just as bad. He's a complete arsehole and he's a vampire. He wants to suck the life out of everyone and control everyone. He's got no free will at all. You know, he can't help what he's doing. He's not necessarily evil. He's just a machine, you know. And so you can't reason with him, right? There's no reasoning with the devil. You know, you can't make this world. It doesn't matter what sort of videos I make. It's not going to change the world, because people are conditioned to be real arseholes, you know. And there's not really any way of unconditioning them. You know, there's no way of purifying them. Like it says in the Bible, in Ecclesiastes, what has been made crooked cannot be made straight. You know. So this has been, you know, this is written hundreds of years ago. This has all been known for hundreds of years. Also in Ecclesiastes, there's nothing new under the sun. People have known this for a really long time. He was writing this hundreds of years ago, or maybe thousands of years ago. And even then, people knew there's nothing new under the sun. You know, there's no new ideas. You know, it's all just fucking repeats. We're just repeating old stories, you know. It's good to get this stuff off my chest. Oh yeah, thanks for thumbing up my video, by the way. I mean, the Frankenstein movie, the more recent one from something like 2007 or something like that. It's interesting because the Frankenstein monster, he sort of goes off on his own. You know, you know, nobody can find him. He's out in the wilderness. You know, and that's kind of how I see Christianity. It's like it's escaped into the wild. You know, there's like thousands, tens of thousands of different denominations of Christianity. You know, it's this book that's like a virus, and it just mutates. It's a mutating virus that just, you know, infects everyone. I was going to go to the Jehovah's Witness thing today, but I watched a video this morning about it, and I decided against it. This guy made a video talking about this specific event that's happening now, probably now, or just happened recently, and they're basically just trying to suck you in. You can't reason with these people. You know, I was going to go there and talk to them about the Book of Enoch and maybe drink some wine when they pass the wine round, because they pass this wine round and no one's allowed to drink it, because they have apparently what they do is they they pass this wine round, but they have like someone holding the wine, and they sort of like symbolically offer it to you, but you're not allowed to drink it, right? Unless you're absolutely 100% sure that you want to be like a full-blooded lifetime Jehovah's Witness, right? But they only let people do that if you've already been a Jehovah's Witness for like years and years and years, and you're like, you know, you're just really, really hardcore. And one of the things about it is that they won't open their eyes and see. They won't deal with things like the Book of Enoch, which tells them the written word is a great evil. Where's that little thing? Oh yeah, here it is. So I got this like there's a little leaflet I've got here. This is the leaflet he's talking about in the video. You are welcome to attend, you know, and it's just, I already made a video about it, you know, before he did. This picture with Christ and the disciples. There's 10 people there. Only Christ is holding the glass of wine. So if you're going to drink the wine, you've got to really believe that you're like Christ. You're a real Christian. And the other thing is, they say that only 144,000 people can really be Christians, and they've already got like 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses. So there's not enough room for them all to be proper Christians. So most of them have to be sort of like, disciples. They're not really going to the proper heaven. They have to settle for paradise on earth, right? That's one of the things I wanted to talk about, because I haven't made a video about it for a long time. Is how like things like Christianity and Buddhism, they get taken over by this cult. According to Robert Anton Wilson's book, Illuminatus, it was Illuminatus trilogy, the epilogue called Cosmic Trigger. There's a cult called the Cult of the Yellow Sign. And for thousands of years, every time there's a spiritual movement that starts and starts making people enlightened and seeing the truth, they wait about 300 years and they take over and turn it into a written word cult, where they put all the teachings into the written word and create this, basically twist it on its head so that it doesn't work anymore. So that's just what they do. They've been doing it for thousands and thousands of years, and people should know about this, so that if we make a new kind of religion or spiritual movement, we've got a plan ahead. So in 300 years time, just for example, if my videos go viral and it creates a new worldwide religion called Frankenstianity, it's all about really living in the truth and acknowledging the fact that we're basically monsters, and in order to make a paradise, we've got to start really learning how to be proper Christians, and which means like having a school system that works, educating people properly, the way that is best for them. So focusing on emotional intelligence for a start, giving people the option whether they want to learn the written word or not, but try to encourage them away from the written word, because that would fit with the Book of Enoch, Okay. So we need to plan ahead so that we anticipate in the next 500 years, people are going to try to sabotage the religion and try to put things in place to make sure that can't happen, even for for 2000 or just indefinitely. Make sure that it won't work. It won't work indefinitely. People will go back to the written word. They're bound to. But it's quite possible that we could go a few thousand years without the written word. Now, I expect most people think this is a terrible idea, but you wait and see until people are dying and there's no food in the supermarkets or the shops, and there's too many people, and people start eating each other because there's no food to eat. Then maybe you will start thinking differently, But I know that for most people, you're not going to start thinking like that until you actually see people eating people in the streets, raw, smashing their brains, like their heads open and eating their brains. When you see that, then you will start thinking, maybe that guy Rank Emperor maybe he had something when he was talking about the written word, maybe we have got a bit far. Maybe Christianity is some sort of Frankenstein monster, maybe the written word is a bad thing, Well, that's as far as I can see, that's the only way people are going to come to the truth. Most people aren't visionaries. They're not right brain thinkers. They don't see things like I do. They don't see the future, how it's obviously going to turn out. You all watch too many Star Trek episodes, and you think that we're all going to go to the stars and take over other planets and stuff. And yeah, so you think that science is going to save you? Science is your god. You've got these gods that you won't admit that you've got. Science is one of them. The government is another one. The media is one. You've got this trinity: science, media, and government. These are the modern. This is the modern religion. It's got a trinity. Science, mainly science fiction, but in some ways science as well. Media, and government. They're your gods that you worship. And they're all monsters. They're all fucking like a bunch of freaks. Okay, I'm getting bored now. I'm not getting any feedback here from my viewer. Someone's just maybe just left me like is like watching me on a sort of like listening to me without actually commenting. Is that you, Mind Rape Art? Not putting any effort in again. I don't know. Tut. Anyway, thanks for watching. Anyway, I'm going to end this video. Bye.